You don't really think that everything they're telling you is going to happen, right? You don't really think that Kamala really supports Tranny, do you? Have you not watched her history as a politician? Like, you really want to get real with yourself based on your own personal experience of working with a boss, such as those of you at Amazon? That's the kind of president she is, or vice president. Oh, well, we'll get you a raise. How many of you at Amazon got your raise? I mean, it really is confusing to me how you can't see how she's just using you as puppets. She's responsible for the inflation. She's done so many horrific things to you as United States citizens and continues to do so. But she smiles the Hollywood smile, and she's a narcissist telling you how wonderful you are while robbing you of your dignity and promising you all sorts of things just like your boss promised you, and that shit never happened. Meanwhile, she fuels provocative pornography, invites Persians to the U.S. Capitol, turns her back against the American people, and promotes people like Parker and Harry, who literally, if they were to get into political office, they would cause economic collapse and even worse. It'd be horrible. It's horrible. They're criminals. They're already criminals and they're only 20 something years old. And then let's not forget about the 12-year-old Kwanzaa. It's so pretentious to watch them wish you a happy Kwanzaa. She's married to a white man. She's Indian, Jamaican, and Canadian. She cares more about, I'm looking for a man, perversion. So if she met a man that she was attracted to because he was schmoozy, she would pick the man over the woman for the job. If she met an abusive woman, you're a woman that cried at the restaurant or whatever that place was, and you were up for the job against a woman like Monavand, she would pick Monavand over you, even though Monavand's Persian and you're American. She's scary to children and she's a woman, and you want to call her Kamala Mamala. So she disrespects the American people. It's clear she doesn't care about the Haitian concern. She's lying out her rear end. You know that she's not going to do anything she says. She's actually going to make things way, way worse. And she's creating chaotic living, as well as promoting assassination attempts of her opponent. That's really bad, because if she'll do it to him, what do you think she'll do to you? Ask Hillary Clinton. If she'll do it to her own team, like how she turned her back on Shapiro, I was surprised that she decided to have Walz as her running mate. I thought she was going to pick that sleazeball Shapiro. But he was too powerful, and she needed somebody weaker, and that means Walz stepped in because he was a conniving, convincing, weak man willing to follow the train. Shapiro had his own agenda in mind. So you really want to understand what you all have gotten yourselves into? And you're all under the age of 30, it looks like. I don't know, she keeps talking about you Gen Zers as the hope for the country, but you're actually the problem. Take a look at the debaters. They weren't even really debaters. They were like child crybabies sitting in front of Charlie Kirk exposing your generation for what you think in your brain, which is nonsense because you are the generation of Joe Biden from high school. Like you were in high school during Joe Biden's era and you were in school during COVID. And this is what happens when you have poor leadership, such as Biden. It's what happens when you're born into an era of a Middle Eastern terrorist like Obama. There were only 4 years of Donald Trump. That's how insane you all are. So you've only known corruption your entire lives, aside from the 4 years of Law and Order, and you didn't like Law and Order, although you were children. Law and Order meant equality and inclusivity, actually. However, the new form of inclusivity is to create only for the migrants. And that's what Kamala Harris is running her campaign off of. While all you weird-ass people, you're all weird as shit. Go look at Tim Walz' wife. That's why I'm really confused how the polls are saying that 49% of people of America like Kamala Harris. You cannot be serious. They don't want election ID showing. It's a simple practice of just showing your ID. Just because you're walking your feet on our soil doesn't mean you get to vote. That's a big concern. I could do a whole episode on how just because you're standing in America for 5 minutes, that doesn't mean you have the right to vote. You might want to consider that's why women didn't vote, because they weren't part of the economy, because they worked from the house. Sorry. I really honestly could hand over my vote to my spouse because I trust him and we're in collaboration with each other. However, you have a shitty husband. Sorry. That's because you're a shitty wife. You're a shitty person. Same thing with SLAVERY. There was a purpose and a reason why you couldn't vote. And it really wasn't because of your skin color. It's because you didn't have an education. It's because you sat on the wall when the Civil War was happening and you didn't fight for your freedom. You expected everybody else to do for you. Do you want to learn this skill? No thanks. You might want to consider that all the things that you learned about slavery were all the victim mentality of a Democrat looking for a vote. Of course, we've evolved into intelligent individuals like Tim Scott and Byron Donalds and Denzel Washington, but we're talking about the early years here in 1776 and prior. I think it was 1706. You don't even know anything about your own heritage, which isn't your heritage, because you're from Jamaica. And you didn't come here until 1976 or 1956, which means you were never involved. So that means you don't deserve reparations. So there's probably like a handful of people who are linked up to a group, but they got room, shelter, and food. So what you're doing now is you're enslaving the rest of us so that we can't do our job and trying to hurt our emotions for something that didn't even happen to us because you're ghetto as shit. And that's what I have for you on the election with Kamala Harris, one of the most evil candidates we've ever had in history. And we've had some doozy, evil-ass people running for president. How do you think people get to the point where they get to run for president? They are evil as shit. Unless you're someone like Donald Trump, who is a strong